Welcome everyone to Monday Match Analysis. I'm Gill Gross. Italy are your 2024 Davis Cup World Champions. They win it for a second straight year. And this 2024 season wraps up a year partially defined by the rise of Italian tennis. And of course, the rise of Jannik Sinner. It is bookmarked with an Italian Davis Cup title. Singles wins in the final over the Netherlands by Jannik Sinner and Matteo Berrettini. We'll get into both of those matches in detail on Monday Match Analysis. This is the start, however, of what I believe will be an Italian Davis Cup dynasty. It is shaping up that way. It looks like Italy will be the dominant men's tennis nation for years to come. They have right now the best player in the world in Jannik Sinner, and they have the depth to back him up. 6 players in the top 50. 3 of those 6 are top 15 talents. Well, you got, a top 3 talent in Jannik Sinner. You have 2 top 15 talents in Lorenzo Musetti and Matteo Berrettini. You have 2 potential top 15 talents in the coming years in Matteo Arnaldi and Flavio Cobolli. And then you have Luciano Darderi. You have guys knocking on the door of the top 50 right now. Well, it's mostly just Lorenzo Sonego, who you would put in that category. The other nations aren't necessarily going to be hopeless. France is looking strong. The United States has a really great crop, although they've underperformed at Davis Cup. 2 things will help the other nations. 1, Davis Cup will not be on clay. The finals will not be on clay for the foreseeable future. And that diminishes pretty much everyone on the Italian roster other than Sinner. It takes a little bit away from their potential dominance. And depth doesn't matter quite as much in the new Davis Cup format. You can have, 5 top 50 players. That used to be a lot more meaningful, but now you really just need 2 and a doubles team because you have just 2 singles, 1 doubles, as opposed to the old format, which was 4 singles matches, 1 doubles. So, a team like the United States or France can match up with Italy at number 2 and, try to force a doubles where anything can happen. But the point is, Italy looks a lot like Spain right now. They have their elite player. They have their torch bearer, which was Nadal for Spain, which is Jannik Sinner for Italy. And they have the numbers and the depth. And Spain ended up winning 5 Davis Cup titles in a span of 20 years between 2000 and 2020. So Italy's now done 2 in a row. And last year, one of the big surprises was they did it without Matteo Berrettini. They did it without Lorenzo Musetti. And Sinner led the way, and then they got heroic wins from the likes of Cobolli and Sonego and Arnaldi, and some good doubles play from Vavasori and Bolelli, if my memory serves. This year, the formula in 2024 was a lot closer to what you would have imagined 3-4 years ago if I told you that Italy was going to win back-to-back Davis Cup titles. You would have thought, all right, Matteo Berrettini is going to be a big bopper in there, and then either Jannik Sinner or Lorenzo Musetti. And by the way, at that time, if we're rewinding 3-4 years, Berrettini is the alpha. Make no mistake. So it was good to see him have his moment because Matteo has, he deserves credit for kind of starting Italy off a little bit. He was their best player since Adriano Panatta, and he was their best player ever, period, off of clay, since Adriano Panatta, who I believe won the Roland Garros title in 1976, which was the last year that Italy won a Davis Cup title. So Matteo, he didn't factor in, he wasn't a part of the equation last year, which was in the big picture a shocker. This year, he plays a massive, massive part because the one bit of adversity that Italy hit was in the quarterfinals when Francisco Cerundolo upset Lorenzo Musetti. Sinner wins his singles match. It goes to deciding doubles. They don't play the double specialists in Vavasori and Bolelli. They instead go Sinner, Berrettini, and Matteo and Jannik come through to beat Argentina, advance to the semifinals. Berrettini would end up beating Thanasi Kokkinakis in the Australia tie. Sinner would beat Alex de Minaur. And then in the final, Berrettini over Botic van de Zandschulp. and Jannik Sinner over Tallon Griekspoor, and that is all she wrote for Italy's Davis Cup title. So let's get into it. Let's begin with Berrettini over Botic. It was a straight set win for Matteo, whose first serve and forehand were by far the best two shots on the court. Like, far and away, the most impactful thing happening on the court was Berrettini's first serve, which was pinpoint accurate from start to finish, and the forehand, which was completely dialed in. Berrettini hit 16 aces on 51 service points. That's an ace rate of 31%. That is pretty much through the roof. And that's the bread and butter. What you have to do against Berrettini, if you're going to beat him, you have to beat him on second serve dynamics. And instead, Botic got crushed on his own second serve, winning just 35% of his second serve points, which can't happen. It can't happen against Matteo. It shouldn't happen against Matteo. If I'm being honest, I do think it was a highly flawed performance, a bit of a dud performance by Botic van de Zandschulp in this singles tie. In this singles rubber. Berrettini ranks 47th among top 50 players in return against the second serve. He is not very good at attacking the second serve return, and Botic let him do it. First, let me get to what the reason that he's 47th among top 50 players is. There's a formula to protect your second serve when you're playing Matteo Berrettini. You serve his backhand, you play from neutral because he doesn't hurt you off of that wing on the drive. He'll miss some returns, but more importantly, he's just not really going to be able to take control because it's not a dangerous enough backhand return to really attack effectively. So you get to neutral, and then once you're in a neutral rally with Matteo Berrettini, he goes from being a very, a top player, a scary player, at times in his career, an elite player. Once you're playing neutral from the back of the court, now he's an average top 50 player, if that. So ultimately, you get to neutral, you expose his movement. You get to neutral by serving his backhand. That's where Botic has a problem. Van de Zandschulp his serve has a massive slice bias. He comes around the right side of the ball pretty well. He does not hit the left side of the ball very well. He does not hit a kick serve, at least not naturally. So he has this slicey second serve that just tails into the righty forehand, doesn't really locate it into the backhand side very well either. And ultimately, that costs him here. First set, 4-all. First point of this 4-all game. Here is a look at, Botic's second serve. Just starts body, but it slides right into the forehand pocket. Berrettini, big forehand down the line return. Van de Zandschulp's defending, and he hits a forehand winner off of the next ball. Next point, Botic hits a really poor drop shot. Berrettini gets up to it. There's a lot of options here. Berrettini ends up going with the redrop. Matteo has an excellent redrop. His hands are phenomenal. This was a winner. Next point, it's another Van de Zandschulp second serve. This one, in fairness to him, he does get out a little bit wider. And once again, Berrettini is able to crack this second serve and make Van de Zandschulp defend off of the first ball. Berrettini off of this ball gets a short ball, hits a slice approach, and forces the error. Now it's love 40, and to Botic's credit, he serves the backhand. I'm just going to kind of show you what the result is here. So now he finds Berrettini's two-hander. He gets it up high, and Matteo, he's a big hitter in every aspect of the game, except not really his drive backhand. And look what Van de Zandschulp gets. He gets a very comfortable backhand, not a lot of pace, not very deep in the court. He gets to step in, and he misses it anyway into the net. So Berrettini breaks it love here. But you saw the difference in result, where instead of defending off of that third shot, which he did both times he fed Berrettini's forehand, he at least had a comfortable +1 ball when he got it to his backhand. We move on, second set, 1-all. This was another game where I thought there were some massive missed opportunities and some disappointments for Van de Zandschulp. He was up 40 love, and at love 40, Berrettini hit a good low backhand chip pass. At 15-40, serve and volley from Botic. First volley misses long, just trying to kind of volley deep into Berrettini's backhand corner. 30-40, I do have some tape on this. Short return by Berrettini, and Van de Zandschulp chips the +1, chip approach, and it's really central. So Matteo gets a runaround forehand here on this passing shot, doesn't need to really move wide of the sideline in order to get that forehand. Look at the racket lag on that screenshot if you're watching on YouTube, or the wrist lag, I should say. And Berrettini blows this forehand right by Van de Zandschulp. That makes it deuce. And at deuce, what do we have again? Second serve for Botic into the forehand of Berrettini. Forehand body this time. He at least made Matteo get out of the way. But Berrettini hits a really sharply angled return. And once again, Van de Zandschulp defending off the first ball. Good squash defense, but there's too much court, and he can't recover because Berrettini hits a marvelous, precise, inside-out forehand into the open court. That is a winner. Van de Zandschulp does hit an ace to save the break point, but then an outstanding running forehand down the line by Berrettini on deuce number 2, followed by a Botic double fault. That's the break of serve in the second set at 1-all. So let's go through this. Botic had 3 chances to make Berrettini hit a backhand pass. He only got it there once. Matteo hit one good backhand pass. He sliced it nice and low and short. But you have 3 chances to do it. You only did it once. Botic also had 3 second serves late in the game, and Matteo ended up hitting 2 forehands and a double fault. So you don't force him to hit 1 backhand second serve return. And this is where I just felt Van de Zandschulp was really just unable to play in a way that was going to allow him to meet Berrettini, play up to Berrettini's level. Matteo did break again at 4-2, and this was just too good from the Italian. Matteo hit this awesome open stance down the line backhand winner that looked very Jannik Sinner-like, and not really what you think of when you think of Berrettini. A running forehand pass down the line that Matteo probably hit 105 miles per hour, made this kind of lunging stab backhand return that was a lob. Botic was trying to serve and volley off of it, and then he had to retreat. Precise forehand approach, stretch volley winner from Berrettini, and then a nice low backhand return at the feet of Van de Zandschulp, who is serve and volleying once again on the break point, forces the volley miss. So that break of serve at 4-2 from Berrettini was pretty special, pretty spectacular, and maybe it was because he was able to relax. There wasn't a lot of pressure, and the shot making kind of came to the forefront there for Matteo, and that did it. So 6-4, 6-2, clean win for Berrettini. The one thing I want to talk about is the body language as well, because Berrettini is perfection. The way Berrettini carries himself around a tennis court is exemplary. You want to show a young player that. You want to say, do that. That's how it's done. There's positivity. There's energy. And it doesn't go away. It doesn't matter what's happening. Things might be going really well for Berrettini, and he's riding that positivity. Things might be going badly, and there's zero sulk. There's no dejection in his body language. He's firing himself up. He's saying, let's get it going now. He is continuing to move around the court, not just during the point, but in between the points with some pep, with some energy. I love Berrettini's strong presence on the court. I think it helps him play better, and I think it sends strong messages across to the other side of the net. Botic is the opposite. I don't know what to say. Like, Van de Zandschulp's body language is horrid. It's some of the worst I've ever seen. And I want to let a guy be his own guy. I don't want to criticize someone for having a low-key personality, because there's room for that. Not everybody needs to be fiery. Not everybody needs to even be particularly energetic. But Van de Zandschulp is 1-24 after losing the first set this season. When he loses the first set, he's won 1 match, and he's lost 24. So when I see a guy who looks discouraged, who looks dejected, who doesn't carry himself with any confidence, and it's married with the fact that he loses the first set and he never comes back. I see a guy who carries himself around like Botic does, and there's horrible nerve management issues. Like he really, really struggles when, with finish lines. That's where I think he opens himself up for some questioning of, can you adjust your personality on court? Can you do things on the court from a body language standpoint that might help you manage your nerves better, that might help you fight a little bit better from behind? I think these are fair questions. And if you didn't see some of these patterns popping up in the actual results, I would just shut up about it. And I'd say, all right, whatever, it's just how he is. But I would say that's where my faith in Botic to fulfill his full potential, which I believe, if you just look at the forehand and the serve and the level of movement, it's a guy who should really be plastered within the top 30. But my faith in him to do that really comes down to the mental. I suppose the overall narrative with Botic is kind of difficult to square because there have been some highlights. He beat Alcaraz at the U.S. Open. He beat Nadal in his last professional match here. He ended up getting through Daniel Altmaier in the semifinal. Altmaier, who hates quick conditions, so it was definitely a positive or an advantageous matchup for Van de Zandschulp. But ultimately, I do think that he, for his ability levels, can be doing a little bit better on a week-to-week basis, Van de Zandschulp. So that is that, but ultimately also phenomenal performance by Matteo Berrettini, however you look at the Botic side of things. This episode is brought to you by Melon. Look, people who've played tennis with me over the years will tell you, I've never been a hat guy, and that's because I felt the hat industry has a problem, which is that you wear a hat for a couple of weeks, you sweat in it, it starts smelling bad, you try to wash it, it loses its shape, it falls apart, and it's a mess. That has been my experience with every single hat until I discovered Melon, because these hats are designed to be the most premium and durable in the world. If you need a hat that's going to keep up with you, no matter what you do, that's Melon. These hats are engineered with antimicrobial properties, not to use a big word on you, but that is why when you sweat in them, it doesn't stain and it doesn't smell. And if you ultimately need to wash these hats, it's not going to lose its shape and it's going to come back looking brand new. This is the Hydro hat, my Melon hat of choice. It's been tested in lakes, oceans, and pools. It's built for the water. It's not going to fall apart in these situations. The style part is also really important. Everybody's got a different taste in hats. Melon understands that, so the selection is huge. There are tons of shapes and colors and styles, and there's even a fit finder on the website. So if you're not sure, like, what hat is right for me, what size is right for me, the site can break down exactly which hat might suit you best to kind of give you a help in that direction. If you're looking for a hat that you can sweat in, that you can play tennis in, you can do whatever you want in, and it's still going to last you 5 times longer than any other hat, look no further. Go to melon.com. That is MELIN.com, and put it to the test yourself. Let's get to Sinner over Griekspoor now, which was chronologically the second singles rubber. We will also have a chance at the very end to just look at Jannik's complete picture of 2024. I feel like we've done that almost every week because we're so often talking about Sinner on Monday Match Analysis as a result of Sinner being in so many big finals. But now, yeah, we get to look back at it as a finished product. And there's some stuff that Sinner pulled off this year that I certainly want to draw attention to now that it's all said and done. But Griekspoor, speaking of conditions, opposite Daniel Altmaier, he's so tough on quick indoor hard courts. High hold percentage guy, low break percentage guy. To his credit, he's pretty clinical in the opening set to get it to a tiebreak. So I want to start here. Sinner has been phenomenal in tiebreaks all year long. He's going to finish 2024 with a 25-8 tiebreak record. And in so many of these things, and you know I'm going through every point with a fine-tooth comb, so many of these tie breaks, I look at it and there's no mistakes. There are no mistakes from Jannik Sinner. And that in itself is just always going to give him a leg up. How solid he's been in the big moments. This was a continuation of that. Not only was Sinner error-free, his first serve netted him a couple of points on its own. He started the tiebreak with an ace. He ended the tiebreak with an ace. He also had a service winner in there. Griekspoor's backhand let him down. Missed 2 regulation cross-court backhands. Both times the ball came in kind of slow. And Griekspoor, sometimes when he has to generate pace with his backhand, not all that comfortable doing it. Doesn't have a lot of acceleration off of that wing, which seems to sort of reduce the margin. Sometimes I think the footwork can even get a little bit sluggish on the backhand when the ball isn't really coming to him and where he needs to be a little bit more proactive in his positioning. So that's kind of what did Griekspoor in, but there were also a couple of spots where I thought Sinner's really stood out with his runaround forehand. I think this is an improvement for Jannik in the last 6 months or so. Even from the end of last year and the first half of this year, one of the things I think Sinner's doing way better is finding his forehand, just looking to use it whenever possible. Look at this footwork on this +1 forehand here, which Griekspoor, he's going to block back at Sinner's backhand or towards Sinner's backhand. There might be a time where Jannik is just going to step in and accept a backhand here. But in this case, he skips around it. And not only does he move to his left to create the forehand, he moves left and inside the court. I think this is awesome movement by Jannik to take the maximum amount of time away as well, move aggressively inside the court, and he ends up really crushing this inside-out forehand, forces the error from Griekspoor. What I would love to see is a Hawkeye stat from this match. What was Sinner's average hit point on the +1 ball behind his first serve? Because I was watching his feet throughout this match, and we know that Jannik Sinner's a huge hitter of the ball, but I also thought he did such a good job of being aggressive with his feet to take time away and move inside the court, steal time from his opponent. It's one thing when you're dealing with a 95-mile-per-hour forehand from 2 feet behind the baseline. It's a whole nother thing when you're dealing with the 95-mile-per-hour forehand from 3 feet inside the baseline, which I feel like is what Jannik Sinner was continually producing against Tallon Griekspoor. Maybe 95 is a little high, but you get the point. Really just strips time away and even strips positioning and recovery time away. And now we're going to see one more point in this first set tiebreak. That +1 forehand was not the only time Sinner's runaround footwork paid dividends in this first set tiebreak. This one comes at either 4-1 or 4-2. Griekspoor is now tight on the backhand because he's already missed 2. So he's going to start slicing throughout this rally. And Sinner hits some big runaround forehands to push Griekspoor back. He's threatening with his power off of Griekspoor's slice backhand. Again, refusing to hit backhands. And because of the runaround footwork, because he's able to threaten with his forehand, he is pushing Griekspoor back. He's going to make the same move here. Griekspoor cross-court slice backhand. Sinner moves to his left, moves forward, gets his body weight moving forward. Everything in his setup suggests that Jannik is going to step in and deliver big power. But he grip changes. He goes to the forehand drop shot. He hits it inside out. He makes Griekspoor change direction. He's recovering to his right. Now he's going to have to, out of his split step, go back to his left. But really, it's not going to matter because Griekspoor at this point is pushed 15 feet behind the baseline. He's got no chance to catch up to this drop shot, which, by the way, also has really good width on it. I circled where it landed on the court. Griekspoor is not even close. It is the setup by Sinner. It is the footwork that is keeping Griekspoor at bay here. The footwork that is making Griekspoor sort of hang in this highly defensive position because Sinner is threatening with that forehand. If Jannik went to a backhand setup here or kind of moved left but accepted a low contact point, that's where Tallon would know that he's not going to get attacked and he can move up and gain some ground in the point. Instead, he's not able to do that. And Griekspoor ends up being kind of caught in between caught between a rock and a hard place throughout this match because the backhand consistency was failing him. But when he went to his slice, which is something that he likes to go to, Sinner was so aggressive finding forehands off of Griekspoor's slice. We know that with Jannik's racket head acceleration and the way that he's able to produce weight of shot, the backhand slice isn't going to be effective if Sinner's able to hit forehands off of it. All right, so let's move on now to the second set. 1-all Sinner breaks, mostly sloppy from Tallon. Another 2 backhand unforced errors from Griekspoor on stiff-looking decelerations. There's one thing that Griekspoor did poorly in the match. It was his ability to drive the two-hander with consistency. So then, again, Griekspoor hits a slice. Sinner attacks it with his feet, gets inside the court, loads up the forehand, and then hits a drop shot winner with Griekspoor 10 feet deep. The similarities between the first set tiebreak and the 1-all second set game are crazy. It's literally Sinner breaking for the same reason he won the tiebreak, which is Griekspoor's backhand inconsistencies combined with Sinner's runaround footwork and his drop shot. Now, Tallon had a moment in the second set, big time. He broke Sinner right back. He hit 2 ridiculous backhand passing shots in that return game. Ends up hitting a pretty flashy highlight reel half volley winner in his next service game to go up 30-love. And you know how it is with Davis Cup. You have all your teammates, you have your captain, the Dutch crowd, unbelievable. Like, just, they are such amazing fans. So you could imagine with Griekspoor having broken back and going up 30-love in the next game with a couple of awesome shots, the energy was immense and the momentum was all on Tallon Griekspoor's side of the net. Well, Sinner, of course, has zero reaction, zero letdown, continues to be, play a almost robotic level of tennis where he's making Griekspoor earn every single point. He got a couple of double faults. He got a couple of unforced errors, and Sinner ends up breaking in this 2-all game. It's hard to describe how unlikely that felt with Griekspoor up 30-love in that service game, but it just broke every rule of momentum. And you know what? That's what Jannik Sinner does. Because he is not an emotional player, because he is not a hot and cold or an up and down player, he can win return games in those situations because he's not really feeling the dynamic of momentum that most players would be feeling at that time. He's just going to work every single point. And he got some mistakes from Griekspoor and ended up breaking. So that was dejecting. Griekspoor was done after that. He would not win another game. Sinner wins the second set 6-2 and wins the Davis Cup for Italy. Great scenes in the end, of course, as always. Big picture, one thing I also want to address in regards to Sinner's overall win, he served the lights out again. 59% unreturned first serves in the first set, 13 aces in the first set. He ended up with 15. Very much looked like the Taylor Fritz final at Turin in the year-end championships, where Jannik served his opponent off the court in the opening set. And how about this for similarities? I told you last week on Monday Match Analysis that Jannik Sinner against Fritz posted a career high in ace rate of 25%. He did it again. 25%, ties Turin, ties his career high. And we have Jannik Sinner ending this 2024 season on a serving hot streak to the likes he's never experienced before. Now, it's possible he's just hit a hot patch indoors. It's also possible the serve took a jump. We won't know until next year because sometimes you do see players indoors sort of overperform on serve for a week or two, and then it kind of goes back to it regulates, it standardizes. We'll see. We'll see what it is for Jannik, and if he can continue to get the purchase out of his first serve that he has the last couple weeks in Turin and Davis Cup, because that would be a massive boon for him. So Jannik finishes with the bang. Italy finishes with the bang. Very fitting that the year ends like this, because this was such a prevailing storyline throughout. Jannik becomes the first to win the Australian Open, the US Open, the ATP Finals, and the Davis Cup in the same year. His final record is 73-6. His hardcourt record is 53-3. There were a couple of things down the stretch of the season. I could go back as far as North American hardcourt swing. A couple of things that were catching my eye on Jannik's record, and I was wondering, is he going to be able to keep up this pace? First thing is that he'd gone the whole year without losing a match in straight sets. Well, he did it. He is technically the second ever to go an entire year without losing in straight sets. But in practice, he's the third. So Federer did it in 2005. Borg in 1980. It's a tricky one. He retired in the second set in Canada. So technically, he lost the match, and it was 2 sets. But he won the first set, so he won a set. So I would say if we're going by the nature of what the stat should be, Sinner's the third player ever to do it, because I think Borg should get credit in 1980, Federer in 2005, entire year without losing in straights for Jannik Sinner. He also didn't lose to anybody outside of the top 20. And thank you to Anthony's Tennis Hub for collecting some of these metrics. I don't have a complete list of players, and neither did Anthony, for not losing to anybody outside the top 20. But the big three each did that once. They all did it once. Rafa in 2020, which was a shortened season. So his overall record was only 27-7. Not quite as impressive. But Novak did it in 2014, full season. Federer did it in 2011, full season. If you ask me, the consistency is the most impressive part of Jannik Sinner's season. And it was a year where he won 2 majors, where he beat top players. He continued to have a tremendous record against top 5 players and top 10 players. The big wins were there. The big splashes were there. But if you ask me, the most impressive part of it all was that he never let up. Was that week in and week out, he never had that dud performance. He never had that listless match. And that's where you get, other than the incredible record and the big titles that he's won, you never lose a match in straights. You never lose to a player outside the top 20. Are you kidding me? That is crazy stuff. So congratulations to Jannik and Matteo. Congratulations to Italy. What a year in Italian tennis. Fantastic to see the Italian tennis market grow, and the excitement in that country is brilliant to see. So that is all great, and what a way it was to end the 2024 season. Monday Match Analysis Awards coming at you next week. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.